What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. My name's Kyle. Tonight, November 9th, we have the greatest Thursday night football game of all time here. Carolina at the Chicago Bears. It's a shame because these are the two of the three worst teams in the league. I think Arizona might be better than both these teams, and Bears have two. They have the pick for Carolina. So this game has really nothing on the line. Whoever loses wins. Essentially, is the way I'm viewing it. Jesse, welcome to the show, man. How excited are we for tonight's Thursday night game?
Yeah, we're hyped up. This is actually a win-win for the Bears. With Carolina's pick, it doesn't really matter for them how this game goes. They just want to see their young guys do something. So we'll see how it goes. A lot of running, maybe Bryce Young. We got to see something from Bryce Young after C.J. Stroud had an incredible rookie-breaking game last week. I'm sure Carolina's feeling a little bit of pain right now. The GM's maybe questioning himself, but hey, that's how she goes, right?
At this point, let him throw it 40 times a game. This year is lost. You don't have a first round pick. Just let him whip it. Mingo should get 10 targets a game the rest of the way. Build him up for next year.
Establish a rapport between those two, right?
Yeah, it's a shame Hayden Hurst didn't work out. He's not really helping as much, and he's actually losing snaps to Tommy Tremble too. So that's kind of interesting. So unfortunately, I think the Texans stacked the playmakers for Stroud a little bit better. You have an aging Thielen. You have DJ Chark who can't stay healthy. They really only brought in Mingo and Terrace Marshall. Maybe we see Terrace Marshall have a nice game tonight, but we'll see. Panthers are in struggle mode. And hey, we're just going to hang out with you guys for the next half an hour. We're going to answer as many questions as you guys have for us. So good evening to Charlene. Good evening to Chase. And the first question off the bat here, Jesse. Full PPR, we're picking one. Tajay, Sanders, or Gibson. I know who I'm picking. Who's Jesse picking?
PPR. Tennessee plays Tampa Bay this week.
At Tampa Bay.
I think it's Gibson then for me.
To me, it's definitely not Sanders. I think we can both eliminate him. It's closer between Spears and Gibson. I think the thing with Spears is he's getting, I think, about 6 points per game with Will Levis, which is fine. But what I like about Gibson, and I'll pull up Gibson's numbers here in a second. Here's Tajay's numbers, which have been solid, like 6, 6, 7, 16.9, and 8.8. You're gambling on a touchdown. Otherwise, you're going to get 6 to 7 to 8 points. So that feels like a pretty safe floor production. And then if I go to Antonio Gibson here, I should spell it right. Let's look at Gibson. Now, Gibson has been very frustrating to own all season. I have him in this league here. But last week, 6 carries for 34 yards. Okay. And then 5 for 42. 5
receptions.
2 straight games. So 12, 9.2. Maybe, and I'm not saying he's going to be unleashed or anything, but this is the first game of his season where he's gotten double-digit touches. So if this happens again this weekend, that's 2 games in a row. A trend is maybe starting to happen here. And then if you take the averages of Gibson's last 5 games, that's about 9-point-something points. So I think Gibson offers a little bit more of an upside play. And Gibson has scored a touchdown this year as well. And I kind of think the Commanders' offense is exciting. Sam Howell playing well. So I'm going to lean Gibson. Good evening to Harris. Harris has a big one for us. I believe he asked this last night, and Jesse, I'm going to review what I answered last night. He wants 2 running backs from this group. I went with Saquon Barkley and Rachaad White at the top. The 2 receivers that I picked in this group were Michael Pittman Jr., and then I did pick Nico Collins, who's probably not going to play. He didn't practice today or yesterday. So the question is between Flowers and Dotson. Do you have a preference between Zay Flowers and Jahan Dotson?
Yeah, so I think this week, just thinking about the game script of these games, Jahan Dotson is probably in a more favorable game environment. Yeah. You got Cleveland and Baltimore. Best case, Cleveland-Baltimore is a 21-17 game is best case. This is a divisional game, guys. These guys grind it out. It's a grinding game through and through. Flowers has been good. He's probably deserved more than he's gotten so far this season from a fantasy point perspective. But against Cleveland, their defense is just it's truly an elite game against a team that's going to know them well. I wouldn't Man, I just don't think I could trust Flowers this week. Dotson has looked better of late, and it's a game against Seattle where I feel like we could see a pretty high scoring. I mean, probably one of the top 3 higher scoring games on the slate for the week. So
Yeah.
I probably lean Dotson.
I lean Dotson there, and then I'm gonna whip James Cook in the flex.
Yeah, I mean, against Denver, this is a game that they should handedly win. And if they can get James Cook going, I think that would actually really propel this offense too.
Yeah. So we're sitting Javonte, which I'm open to Javonte being someone that we like down the stretch. Not so much in Buffalo in a negative game script. I don't think he's going to get up to the carries that he needs to be successful. James Cook should get the carries in this one. Damian Pierce, we're not interested. Nico Collins, no. So I think that covered it. But I do want to. You brought up a good point here with the Cleveland Browns Ravens game. So Cleveland is number 2 against the wide receivers here. They're one of the better defenses. But I have a tool here, and this is one of my favorite things for deciding like starting defenses. I like to look at the projected team totals and the game totals in this one. The Ravens and the Browns, it's got the second lowest implied game total of the weekend. So not a very fantasy friendly option for these guys here. So I think you're still starting your studs in that game. I don't know if we're calling Zay Flowers a stud quite yet. So
Not yet. Yeah.
and yeah, we got Jesse GM in the chat. Just seen
Pick 'em
Higgins
up.
isn't playing. Is Chase likely to play? I sent some reports to Jesse earlier today on this. It sounds like they've all but ruled out T. Higgins for this weekend. We'll read those Seattle blurbs in a second here, but let me see if I can find it. Okay, so here's the thing about Jamar Chase. He had an MRI earlier this week, and it turns out it's just a back bruise. I think he can play through it. Sure, maybe he's not 100%, but it's. I would lean towards Jamar Chase playing, just reading from what he said here with his own quotes. Whereas T. Higgins,
Especially with T. Higgins, right?
yeah, they're already saying he's expected to miss with that hamstring. I believe that's the hamstring that he hurt earlier in the season. So when a team has their bye week already, they're going to be extra cautious with players, especially soft tissue injuries and things like that. So I'm going to say it's optimistic for Jamar Chase, not so good for Higgins. Expect Higgins to not play this weekend. And yeah, Chase says he plans to play. What do you think about Javonte Williams? Is there any way Javonte Williams is a really good play this weekend, Jesse? We kind of answered that with Harris's question, but I'm open to Javonte Williams this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, if you have Javonte, you're very likely probably need to play him as your RB2. And it's a volume play. I think I think the way that you hear them talking about Javonte is it's his backfield now. He's 100%. He's there. P. Ryan's probably going to spell him maybe on some 2-minute drills. Jaleel, slight change of pace, but I think that was really just Jaleel. They want to see what they got from Jaleel early in the season. And I think Javonte is going to be their guy.
Yeah. I did want to pull up because was it the week before the bye week where they just gave him like 20 some carries?
Right. Yeah, I believe it was. Yeah.
So we're talking 27 for 85. Now, this is a game where they won and they were leading the entire game. I do not think that's going to be the outcome.
What if they beat KC and Buffalo back-to-back games?
That 'tis the season, nothing would surprise me anymore at this point.
Yeah.
What would surprise me if you did get the 27? That's a lot of touches.
Yeah. It's a volume play. It's a Buffalo defense. Yeah. Since they lost Milano, since they lost their safety, I mean, this is a different defense. They're not as good as you would think when you look at the overall season. You see them in the rankings; they seem good. I mean, they're 4th against quarterbacks, but if you look at their last 3 weeks, they're averaging 21 points against quarterbacks. They're giving up yards on the ground. Milano really was a captain of that defense, and so I think they're getting exploited. I think Josh Allen is thinking, I need to do more.
Yeah.
And maybe they kind of need to get re-synced up. I think it's a good Monday Night Football at home. It just came off a loss. It's probably a good week for them to get back on track, but
yeah,
it could be. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a good game environment, really. I mean, bad defense, good offense.
So what I like here is they're throwing to Javonte. 3 receptions in his last 2 games. He did catch a touchdown in week 8 before the bye week. And then what I clicked on over here is these are the running backs. The last 3 games against the Bills, they allowed Ramondre to go 6 for 51 as a receiver. They allowed Rachaad White to go 7 for 70 as a receiver, and Joe Mixon went 5 for 31. So you mentioned the linebacker being out. maybe there's a little bit of squeaky PPR juice here for Javonte Williams. Probably not a great running day. You can see they're holding running backs to not a lot of yards running.
Really the PPR factor,
It's those dump offs, and hey, maybe the negative game script leaves Javonte out there, and I don't know. I'm open to it. What else we got here? Should we continue to start Bijan? See, I don't understand this question quite yet. You're playing Bijan Robinson. I would not sit Bijan Robinson this week. He's had one bad game, guys. He's had one bad game. He's playing the Arizona Cardinals, who rank 30th against running backs here. Any thoughts on Bijan, Jesse, or aggression towards Arthur Smith?
Yeah, I mean, this is just the community is going to uprise against Arthur Smith until he figures it out. I mean, I saw a stat that Arthur Smith something about like quote saying he loves Tyler. He's doing great in the short goal. He's like getting the first downs. He's getting the touchdowns. It's within 3 yards. It's like it's a first down or a touchdown, goal to goal. Tyler Algier is averaging 2.3 yards per carry. Bijan is averaging 5.7 yards per carry. So like he's just a better back. Maybe he's preserving him. Maybe he's just like, who knows? It's Arthur Smith. He's playing Jonnu Smith over Kyle Pitts. Like, unfortunately, it's a coaching situation, but you got to play Bijan because even with limited touches, look at what he's doing.
He's had one bad game, guys. I'm not counting the Tampa Bay game where
week 7. Right.
Exactly. He's had one bad game. Every other game that he started and finished, he's gotten double digits.
And Minnesota's good against the run, so it's like, I mean, he had 11 carries for 50. He had 4.6 yards per carry. Like, I mean, he's all right.
Honestly, I think Bijan's a buy low. He finishes up with Carolina, Indianapolis, and Chicago for the fantasy playoffs.
Go and buy Bijan Robinson.
I would buy low on Mr. Robinson, and with Taylor Heineke in the fold, maybe that uplifts the Falcons' offense for a little bit at least. Jerry Moo is asking, start Chuba or Foreman? Jesse, this is your question here. He's saying full PPR. Saw your Discord response. I wanted to hear Jesse's opinion. I'm also leaning towards Foreman. This is exactly Jesse's problem tonight. What are we doing?
Yeah, I mean, Jerry, I own both these guys in a league, and I'm starting both of them. It's a 0 RB team. You know, there it is. I actually just traded for Chuba Hubbard. I had some depth at tight end. I was able to swing Trey McBride for Chuba. So, you know, you got to do what you got to do this time of year. I'm going with Deonta Foreman. It's not really close. Carolina's run defense is pretty bad. Tonight we should expect a heavy usage in the run game from Chicago. On the other side of the ball, I know the stats will say maybe that Chicago's bad against the run, but recently that's really not been the case outside of Austin Eckler, who really did in the air. So we might see some PPR floor from these running backs, but at the end of the day, I think you want a little bit more upside. You want a little more volume, and I think that's going to come from Foreman. I like him to score tonight, so he'll get you maybe that 10-point floor with, you know, if he breaks 1 or 2 runs, maybe he gets you more than that. But Chuba, I think, is, I mean, he could be limited to 6-7 points.
As bad as the game was last weekend, though, he still hit.
Yeah,
he's a 7 to 10 point play. If he gets the touchdown, he'll get you 16. But hey, did you know that like on desktop you can click the green?
Yeah, you click it in. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
Just now learning that. I remember them used to having it, and then it went away one year, but now it's back. Okay, wow, eye opening. Charlene says she dropped the Jags defense, picked up Miami defense. Week 11 Thursday. Week 11 through week 15, Miami has an easy schedule. Yeah, I did look at Miami Dolphins schedule, and I've been recommending that to people. Jesse, I just want to pull it up for you. And if I know you play in a couple leagues with defenses, and let's just review it here. So after the bye, they get the Raiders, the Jets, the Commanders, the Titans, the Jets, and then the Cowboys and Ravens. Don't really want to play them.
Not great. Yeah.
But you're getting a 5-week run where you might be able to just set it and forget it.
That gives you 5 weeks to find your defense for the last 2 weeks. You know.
Yeah. So we're stamping the Miami Dolphins as a team to identify the stash right now for next week.
With Jalen Ramsey getting healthy.
Yeah. It's going to be fun. Chase is saying, for some context, the Higgins owner is in a rebuild in my 12-team Superflex league. He's trying to sell T to me and, of course, wants future pick. My wide receiver depth is crazy. I don't know if I want to give up a first. If your wide receiver depth is crazy, I personally, Jesse, would you give up a first for T Higgins right now?
I mean, a first for T is a fine deal, but if you already have good wide receiver depth, I don't think that's your first is more valuable to you than that. So
Um, basically, like if I feel like my team's gonna win the championship, I might do it because like that's a pretty good like if you can trade T Higgins for the 12th overall pick in next year's draft, that might look pretty nice. And there's a good chance that T Higgins didn't sign a contract yet, right?
no,
Okay, so they're giving Fantasy Pros is giving him a value of 55 in the trade value number, and they're basically saying in Superflex leagues he's worth like the 6th overall pick. So technically, like if you're a playoff team, it is something to consider. And my favorite thing is you can never have enough depth, never have enough depth because maybe with all this depth, another trade partner comes in and says, "Hey, I'll give you this, 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 this," and all of a sudden you get your first back and you're liking your team even more. So I wouldn't shoot it down. Although T Higgins, man, are we close to calling him injury prone?
that's tough. I mean, we gotta wait for next year on the real status of injury prone.
My issue with the T Higgins injury prone is I mean, he hurt me last year twice in games where he started and was not able to finish. Unfortunately,
Yeah,
um,
that's tough.
it's also like
Walker did practice. He was a
yep,
full participant. So
we'll pull that up here for you because I know this JSN was on the report today too. So DK Metcalf did not practice. He practiced in full yesterday, so I think they're doing that on again, off again thing with him. Where I expect him to practice tomorrow, take a day off on Saturday. They probably don't practice on Saturday anyways. So nothing to worry with DK Metcalf quite yet. Tyler Lockett full practice today, limited yesterday. So good news on Lockett. Najigba full practice today. That's good to see. And then yes, Kenneth Walker full practice today. The Seahawks are weird. Like they're going to give a lot of guys DNPs on Wednesday. They had their bye week a while ago. They're just being very cautious. So nothing to be concerned of with your Seahawks. I have a 2024-25 first, and I'm a contender. I'd probably be open to it, but I think I'm going to sit on the first. I think especially if you have the depth, we're going to sit on the first. Here you go, Jesse. Paulo says, Will Levis or Baker Mayfield?
I'm going with Baker this week. He's proven that he can at least put up fantasy points. It's against the Tennessee Titans defense that does not really scare anybody.
I'm just curious here. Tampa Bay, dude, they are quietly allowing the most fantasy points per game to the quarterback, though. But I will mention 4 of those touchdowns here came from rushing quarterbacks. So that might be tilting it a little bit. And then the Titans down here, 15. I think I'm just going to take the free 15 points with Baker Mayfield. We've only seen 2 data points from Will Levis. One was pretty damn good. One was 8 points without a touchdown.
Yep.
And it was against the Steelers at Steelers. So I think I'm going to give Baker the benefit of the doubt, though. Harris says, pick one non-PPR. Madison, Addison, Drake London, or Kareem Hunt. Who do you like, Jesse?
Madison, Addison, Drake London, Kareem Hunt.
Essentially, the question is who scores a touchdown?
Yeah. Yep. Vikings. Probably take Madison.
Probably
Kareem
Madison.
Hunt. I mean, Kareem Hunt's playing Baltimore. That's just not and he's splitting carries with Jerome Ford. Drake London's coming off an injury. Atlanta, they just don't throw enough, and they probably don't have to throw against Arizona this week. And then you're betting on Jordan Addison versus Alexander Madison. I mean, I think the running back in a non-PPR.
Yeah, non-PPR. That's usually the math that I do, Harris, is like I lean towards running backs in standard to half PPR. Usually, if this was PPR, we'd be saying Addison probably pretty easily. But Madison's been catching touchdowns.
Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe they rush one in. I do want to see where the Saints rank against the RBs. It is a tough matchup on paper, but hey, the way that I do this math is in a full PPR format, the Saints allow 16 points per game to the running back. Madison probably getting 80% of the work there. That should be 12 to 14 points. So I like Madison. Charlene says she's not dropping Matt Gay. He has a bye next week. I picked up Brandon McManus. Your thoughts? What are your thoughts there on kicker strategy, Jesse? Do you hold your kicker over a bye week? A guy like Matt Gay, who probably is one of the top scoring kickers. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that Matt Gay plays in a dome on his home games is lovely. I mean, we love that, especially as the months get colder and the weather turns. So Matt Gay's a fine hold if you have a deep bench. I mean, you take that. Anytime you're getting 10 points a week from your kicker, you're happy. Brandon McManus, you're playing in Buffalo, Monday Night Football. Oh no, I can't think about Brandon on Denver. Now he's with Jacksonville now. San Francisco, I mean, that's a fine play. That's a really good game environment, so I think that's a fine play.
I do want to
Yeah.
just pull up real quick. Fantasy points allowed to kickers. I don't use this too often, but it is kind of nice. The 49ers right now allowing 7 points per game to the kicker. It's fine. David Phillips, good evening. He has a flex question in a super flex league for us. He has Bryce Young, Devontae Adams, and JSN. Dude, this is where we're at with Devontae Adams, Jesse. If I told you in August we would get this question of who do you super flex, wild. I think Bryce Young's a 12 to 15 point play tonight. I'm leaning Devontae Adams, but it's against the Jets. And then JSN's been hot. I don't know if you've seen his numbers of late. This one's tough. My head's saying Devontae Adams. Do you have any strong feelings on this one?
I'm leaning towards Bryce Young here.
Okay.
I just think you said that, the Jets matchup number one against wide receivers. It's for good reason. I think your best case for for Devontae is like around 15 points.
Yeah.
But your floor is a lot lower than what I think Bryce is going to give you. So if you need a floor play, I think Bryce is your safest. Go with the quarterback.
Yeah.
If you need maybe upside, Devontae's probably your play. JSN, you're not playing JSN over Devontae, right? Like,
correct.
Yeah. So
I'm gonna lean with you, Bryce Young. I think he offers the highest floor and maybe not the highest ceiling, but it's a pretty good ceiling of, maybe he hits 2 touchdowns and 250 yards tonight. You never know. So we're going to go Bryce Young. And in a super flex, I think that just makes sense. And he says Dotson, he just needs one. We're still going Bryce Young over Dotson.
Yeah.
It's terrible, man. I hate Thursday night football games, especially.
It makes it tough.
I hate Thursday night football games when I have guys that are like flexy type plays. Yeah. It never feels good. Just never, ever.
It's a quarterback at least. Like if it was a receiver, I would say don't play the Thursday. Like if it was any kind of skill player, but like your quarterback against the Chicago Bears. Bears have been good against the run. They've been pretty bad against the pass. Like, there's some upside here for Bryce Young.
The Bears are allowing almost 20 points per game to the quarterback. They've actually allowed, if you filter here by touchdowns, the Bears have allowed the most passing touchdowns in the league. That's basically 2 per game. Is there any wrinkle tonight, Jesse, where the Panthers are like, we're gonna just let Bryce Young whip it tonight? We traded with the Bears to get Bryce Young. It's on a national.
What do they got to lose? Yeah, I mean, this is it.
I want 40 passing attempts tonight.
I'm telling you, they saw CJ Stroud last week. They got to showcase their boy.
Yeah.
In the spotlight.
Hopefully, they can dial him up some fun plays. Harris is saying James Cook or Javonte Williams has a higher ceiling PPR.
These guys. I want to say Cook because of the touchdown equity, but like he doesn't even score touchdowns. So,
to me, it's who's more likely to score a touchdown.
Yeah,
probably Javonte Williams. Who's more likely to have more touches? Probably Javonte Williams. So we're gonna change our answer here, Harris.
Are we going Javonte over Cook now in that first question?
Let's go Javonte. Lock it in. Bills they don't run the ball. And I think the Broncos want to pound Javonte the rest of the season. So we're going to change our answer here. Chase is asking how we feeling about DJ Moore tonight. He's basically forced to play him and just pray. I'm not super excited about the Bears passing tonight. Jesse, did you have thoughts on this DJ Moore matchup?
Yeah, I mean, it's the only guy that Badgett hopefully throws to. If that's what you're hoping for. You're hoping to just feed them targets. Sure, they need to throw. It's going to be a low volume pass offense. You really just need DJ to capitalize on his plays, which I mean, he's always open to making a play or two. Yeah.
The Panthers are good against wide receivers, though. They're allowing about 28 fantasy points per game, but hey, DJ Moore could have 28 himself in this game. So not super excited about DJ Moore tonight, but he should be fine. I don't think he's going to make or break your week for you this week, though. If he goes out and gets, 10, 12 points, that should be where he's at.
Yep.
And then David says his starting receivers are Pittman and Addison. I don't think that changes our question. Are you starting Pittman and Addison over Devontae? I'm starting Pittman for sure.
Ay,
Tell me about Addison.
Addison against New Orleans. I mean, man, that's a crazy question. Like, we're thinking about Jordan Addison and Devontae Adams. I think you gotta stick with your studs. I mean,
It
if
is
you,
O'Connell against the
yeah,
Jets, though.
yeah, it is. I mean, it's Josh Dobbs against New Orleans. I mean,
I think that game environment could be kind of crazy.
yeah, New Orleans, Minnesota.
Yeah. How many touchdowns are scored in the New York Jets Las Vegas Raiders game?
Yeah.
Might
I
be
mean, Addison, like, what's crazy, but if you look at his stats, like he if you take away his touchdowns, he hasn't been great, but he scores. He
Yeah.
finds a way to get in the end zone. So
This is the last chance to maybe play him without JJ back. I think I'm fine with it, David. I think we're gonna stick with what you got and play Bryce Young. Charlene says she dropped Brandon Cook and picked up Donovan Peoples-Jones. I like the stash play of DPJ. David says he likes DJ Moore tonight. The revenge game narrative. I don't think we mentioned that, but yeah, it is totally. These two teams, man, they traded franchise players.
yeah, it's crazy.
Swap DJ Moore and Bryce Young essentially. So it's a lot of fun. Harris says the only thing worse than Arthur Smith is Taysom Hill stealing our touchdown. Yeah. Thoughts on Romeo Dobbs, Spears, and 2024 third late for Higgins? It's a bunch of junk for Higgins. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the only pause is if like Derrick Henry retires at the end of this year, but I don't think that's happening. So I think you're far enough out from Spears being useful that you can take the Higgins if he's open to that.
I'm nervous about this Higgins hamstring injury right now. I don't know if I'm buying Higgins.
The injuries, gotcha.
For sure, Charlene. We're going on about 7 o'clock here, so we're gonna hang out and finish up these questions, and then we're gonna get out of here for Thursday Night Football, guys. Do you think I can sell Saquon Barkley for Bijan Robinson, or is that giving too much? Who would you rather
Saquon.
You rather have Saquon rest of season?
I think I hold Saquon.
In a full PPR, yes.
PPR for sure. Full PPR, Saquon, yeah.
So I'm not. Yeah, even though it's Tommy DeVito, there's still the offense is gonna be Saquon. So I think I'm keeping Saquon. David says Debo or Hollywood Brown in a full PPR flex this week. I'm doing Debo. Jesse, do you have a thought?
Debo.
How are we feeling about Devon Achane rest of season? Well, we highlighted the Dolphins schedule the rest of the way. You're probably going to put Achane back as your running back too, and just leave him there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling fine about him. I don't think it's fair to expect those numbers that we saw earlier in the season.
The efficiency is too good. It'll come down, but volume might come up a little bit.
Yeah.
Because Mostert, as you've mentioned a couple times, Mostert's slowed down a little bit.
Yeah.
Jeff Wilson's in the mix, but to me, Jeff Wilson's just a warm body. So it's good. Off a bye week, Achane's going to be good.
Yes. Half PPR, Marquise or Calvin Ridley. I'm going Calvin Ridley. What do you say?
Yeah, I'll go Calvin Ridley.
So this is a good point here. Charlene makes in fantasy football playoffs. You might bench or drop stud players. Coaches rest their stud players if they made their playoffs. It's a case by case basis. The thing with Davante Adams and sitting Davante Adams, it's not Davante's fault right now. He's not playing bad. We hate the situation. We hate Aiden O'Connell going up against arguably the best, most difficult defense to pass against. So you hate the situation, not the player. Yeah, I totally agree with Charlene here. DJ Moore, Garrett Wilson, non-PPR. This one's tough, Jesse. Are you throwing out DJ Moore tonight?
Non-PPR.
Over Garrett Wilson?
Non-PPR.
Who scores
Garrett
it?
Wilson. I'm going Garrett Wilson.
So I think I was presented with this question last night. I don't remember what I answered. I'm going to double down with Garrett Wilson here with Jesse's answer. I think he's had 100, 90, and 80 yards in his last 3 games. He's like the one thing that's working for this offense, and it's a good matchup against the Raiders. Like I'm actually not afraid of that one. So
I think he scores.
Yeah, I think, and if he doesn't score, he's going to get you the 8 to 10 points. I think that's the smart
volume. I mean,
but yeah. Both boom bust wide receiver 3 flexes, though, to say the least. The question comes down to who scores a touchdown. Charlene, have a beautiful night as well. Thank you for hanging out.
Well, Charlene.
Enjoy the game. And then Harris says, last question of the night, guys. What are we doing with Zay Flowers rest of season? Any format goes.
Any format. Zay Flowers. Baltimore is not afraid to simply do what works, and sometimes that means it's Zay Flowers, and sometimes that means it's not Zay Flowers. So if they determine that Zay's part of the winning formula that week, they're going to use him. But if not, last week 37-3, Zay Flowers. Did he have like 3 points? I don't even know. So you just got to be able to roll with the punches. But I think there's going to be some boom weeks from Zay Flowers.
The trouble is you're never going to feel comfortable starting Zay Flowers. That's just the way it is, especially when Mark Andrews is healthy and Odell Beckham's healthy and Rashad Bateman's healthy. He's going to be a guy that again, he kind of reminds me of Curtis Samuel the way he plays too. And you're never feeling comfortable with him in your lineup. But I do think full PPR is where you want Zay Flowers. Non-PPR, that's a touchdown league to me. I don't know if Zay Flowers has 1 touchdown on the year. So I'd rather bank on the PPR side of things. So non-PPR, not as excited to have Zay Flowers. Full PPR, he's a wide receiver 3 flex. He's a guy that can help you, and he's not like a must start every week. Like this week, we're not playing him against the Browns, but next week, whoever they play, we might be interested in him. So hold on to him unless you can make a good profit off of him. And then here we go. Last question of the night. Pick one, half PPR: Marquise, Brian Robinson, Jalen Warren, Jerry Jeudy, Tank Dell. I know my answer, Jesse. Do you have one off the top of your head here?
Off the dome is Tank Dell.
It's Tank Dell. And
no Nico Collins. Well, we don't know for sure, but he's 2 no practices.
Probably not.
So, I mean, Tank Dell. Also, I believe Bob Woods still.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
Some injuries. Noah Brown could be anybody who's in a deep league and you have some buys. Noah Brown in your flex this week could be very interesting.
Noah Brown, and then start Dalton Schultz this weekend. That could be very fruitful. But we're done for the evening. Jesse, any final thoughts for Week 10 and the good people here? We're going to be hanging out on Sunday watching football together, so I'm excited.
Live.
So yeah, I'm sorry guys, no live Sunday morning show this weekend. You guys can always hit the Discord or hit me up on Twitter with your questions. But Week 10, Thursday Night Football. Final thoughts?
This is a grinder of a game. I'm sorry if you have any pass catchers on the Bears side. Let's see some Bryce Young. Let's give us some Bryce Young hope. And we have some good teams on bye this week. I mean, so it might be a lower scoring week in general, but yeah, I mean, this is it. This is the lull of the season. Everyone's kind of like sleeping a little bit. Stay sharp. Look at the waiver wire so you can scoop.
I believe it picks up next week though. I can't remember who plays next Thursday night, but I'm pretty sure it's a good game. I can't remember who it is. I think it's Cincinnati and the Ravens. So that one's fun. And then I believe the Monday night cap is Eagles Chiefs. So
something fun. I mean, this week seems like a real doozy.
And then it's Thanksgiving. Like, dude, November is probably the fastest month.
Fantasy playoffs are right here. They're right around the corner. So yeah, now's the time.
But anyways, guys, thanks for hanging out. Enjoy the game. Hopefully it's watchable tonight. I just want to see some fun things and see some nice things from Bryce Young and the guys. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in a future video. Peace.